The following program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert is apologizing now for doubling down on her bigoted anti-Muslim rhetoric following to a fellow member of Congress. Boebert was caught on tape at a public event suggesting that Minnesota Democrat Ilhan Omar could be a suicide bomber at the U.S. Capitol. The website Patriot Takes says that this was recorded at an event in Pueblo on Saturday.
And I see a Capitol police officer running hurriedly to the elevator. I see fret all over his face, and he's reaching, and I'm like, what? The door's shutting. Like, I can't open it. Like, what's happening? I look to my left, and there she is, Ilhan Omar. Oops. And I said, well, she doesn't have a backpack. We should be fine.
Laughs in the room make it even worse. Congresswoman Omar responded to that video in a tweet last night, said this whole story was made up and that Boebert typically looks down when she sees her at the Capitol. Boebert tweeted this morning that she apologizes to, quote, anyone in the Muslim community she offended, and said that she's reached out to Omar's office. Colorado's first elected Muslim lawmaker, Democratic State Representative Iman Judah, says Boebert's comments dig deeper than just politics.
Stereotypes like these often push that agenda of Islamophobia and continue to marginalize groups that are already underrepresented in government, both state and nationally. The reality is that Muslims all around the state and really all over the nation have been faced with Islamophobia for decades. And it was only compounded during the Trump administration. And now that we are kind of turning a new page, Muslims are really having to make up for lost time and really having to rebuild those bridges.
This afternoon, that same website, Patriot Takes, posted another video from the same event where Boebert launched a homophobic attack against Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Boebert has yet to address those comments, and we've told you we tend to hold Boebert to a lower standard than elected officials in this state because of her propensity to say ugly things for attention and for fundraising. And we've pointed out that that's unfair to other elected Republicans and Democrats in Colorado who don't say this stuff on a regular basis. We're still working through how to best manage all of that, and we figured we should share all of this with you.
Hello everybody, it's Jeff. Nice seeing everybody here today. It's a rainy and cloudy Sunday here in Maine today. And just kind of taking it easy. Ain't too good a day to be outdoors. So that's how it is. You get nice string of good days of sun and all that, and all of a sudden, bang, rain comes right out of blue. So, Lauren Boebert has, whoops, Smokey. Lauren Boebert's in the news. She has been for a couple of days now because there's some kind of a scandal going on there that's been discussed, or rumors or something like that. And I'm going to read this article here so I can make sure that I get the story right here. And this is from the Denver Post, written by Conrad Swanson, entitled Lauren Boebert, Target of Wild Claims Spreading Despite Lack of Evidence. The same political group that helped overturn U.S. Representative Madison Cawthorn's re-election bid in North Carolina is now taking aim at Colorado's West Slope provocateur, U.S. Representative Lauren Boebert. Well, the Political Action Committee, American Muckrackers, spread a video in which Cawthorn was identifiable. Its claims against Boebert of silt are much more tenuous. One rumor of an ATV accident in Utah holds a kernel of truth, though Boebert's spokesman disputes major details. Other allegations, including that of a worker working as a paid escort, appear based entirely on anonymous and heavily redacted sources. The Denver Post could not find any information or witnesses to support those claims. Some news outlets have run with the story, though, and the allegations continue to circulate wildly on social media. David Wheeler, a former Democratic candidate for the North Carolina Senate, said he couldn't reveal his sources, but said voters can look online and hear the audio recordings and read the text messages he's collected. They can make up their own minds on whether they think it's true or not, Wheeler told the Denver Post. He then called on Boebert to directly and specifically refute the allegations. But one political scientist questioned whether American Muckrackers will have much of an effect on Boebert's bid for a second term at all. Even an ethics complaint submitted by the committee to Colorado's Attorney General has yet to gain much traction. State officials are still investigating whether the Congresswoman broke any laws by cashing in on large amounts of mileage reimbursements from her own campaign. Others, like comedian Toby Morton, take a more traditional, albeit modernized, approach to attacking the character of far right-wing politicians by creating websites bearing their names and highlighting aspects of their personal, professional, and political lives. Morton's website takes aim at Republican U.S. Representatives Devin Nunes, who resigned this year, Elise Stefanik, Kevin McCarthy, Jim Jordan, and of course Boebert. Quote, "We both want her out of there," unquote, Morton, a Colorado native and former South Park writer, said of American Muckrackers. Quote, "They have their approach and I have mine," unquote. Rather than making allegations against Boebert, Morton's site mostly uses her own words, tweets, and comments against her. Through it all, though, Boebert appears to maintain a firm hold on her sprawling West Slope district, which also covers Pueblo. To date, she has raised and spent more money than all of her challengers combined, campaign finance data shows. She tweeted in apparent response to some American Muckrackers allegations Tuesday evening. Quote, "Fact check, not true. Fake news, 4 Pinocchios. Also, y'all need Jesus," unquote, she wrote. Like Boebert, American Muckrackers' main weapon of choice is Twitter. Although the Congresswoman boasts 1.4 million followers to the committee's 26,000, the committee launched the account at Fire Boebert a year ago, soliciting any and all tips that might harm her and Cawthorn's re-election efforts. Among the evidence the committee gathered and published was a video of a naked Cawthorn grinding against another man. Cawthorn lost his primary election in May, and American Muckrackers turned its focus toward Boebert. Quote, "We built a coalition and fired Madison Cawthorn in May 2022, unquote. The Twitter bio currently reads, quote, "Now it's Lauren Boebert's turn to be fired," unquote. American Muckrackers first made waves in Boebert's campaign earlier in June, publishing allegations about an all-terrain vehicle crash in 2020, just weeks before she ousted incumbent U.S. Representative Scott Tipton in the district's primary election. The committee claims that a drunken Boebert bailed out of the vehicle's driver's seat moments before a crash, leaving her sister-in-law, son, and dog still inside. The allegations are paired with a recorded phone call, supposedly with that sister-in-law, confirming the details. She did not, however, respond to multiple calls or text messages from the Denver Post. There was a crash, Boebert spokesman Ben Stout confirmed, but it was in 2019, not 2020, and the Congresswoman hadn't been drinking. Plus, aspects of her sister-in-law's injuries were heavily exaggerated or flat-out false, he said. Among other things, American Muckrackers also alleged that Boebert... hold on. that Boebert had been an escort, a claim that Stout dismissed as totally false. Quote, "If it's true, release the evidence," unquote, he said. While the allegations spread rapidly on social media, especially Twitter, Donald Green, a professor of political science at Columbia University, questioned whether they'll have any effect on Boebert's campaign. Quote, "Before you get up in arms, if you're a supporter of Boebert, or get your hopes up if you're an opponent, be advised the ingredients of an actual impact aren't apparent," unquote, Green said. Perhaps the most substantial ingredient would be if Republicans in former President Donald Trump's political camp turned on Boebert in any noticeable way, Green said. They haven't. In the case of Cawthorn, that was the crucial element, Green said. It wasn't just the never-Trumpers saying nasty things about him. Even supporters of Trump started to wonder if this guy was going to be a millstone around their neck, unquote. Instead, those Republicans might start rallying behind Boebert instead, defending her against the claims, Green said. Short of that, eyewitnesses coming forward to corroborate the claims or new and substantial allegations, Boebert's campaign appears unlikely to suffer from the allegations. Wheeler said his efforts aren't meant to tell voters what to do. Quote, "Our job is to get information about Lauren Boebert that has not been properly exposed," unquote, he said. Quote, "We're focused on information and facts about Lauren Boebert that we think voters ought to know," unquote. Morton, who is from Evergreen, said he's not under any illusion that his websites are going to change the world, but he hopes they do encourage unaffiliated voters to go against Boebert. His website, thelaurenboebert.com, describes her as racist and a sympathizer of the right-wing conspiracy group QAnon. It also brings attention to Boebert's criminal record and that of her husband, alongside other aspects of her professional and political life. Plus, Morton said he enjoys the work. Quote, "I did it because it was fun and it made me laugh," unquote. He said, quote, "I'm still going to keep doing this, even if it doesn't do anything," unquote. So, let me see if I can't pull up this criminal report here. And just to remind people here about Boebert's criminal record, there's an article here that'll explain that in case you don't know what that's talking about. This is from Faith Miller at Colorado Newsline. And the title is "Lauren Boebert Warned Arresting Deputies She Had Friends at Fox News." 2015 disorderly conduct charge that was later dismissed. Congressional candidate Lauren Boebert of Rifle, who has defended law and order and recently called for protesters to start behaving in the wake of widespread demonstrations against police brutality, was detained and handcuffed herself after a verbal altercation with law enforcement at a 2015 country music festival record show. A petty offense charge for disorderly conduct, which the Mesa County District Attorney later dismissed, arose from an incident at the Country Jam Music Festival near Grand Junction, where sheriff's deputies said Boebert encouraged people arrested for underage drinking to break free, and repeatedly said she had friends at Fox News who would report on her subsequent illegal arrest, according to deputy accounts in a case report. Quote, "I was glad the legal system worked as it should have and that the district attorney recognized there shouldn't be charges," unquote, Boebert said via text when asked for comment on the incident. In June, Boebert rose to national fame when in a primary race she ousted incumbent Republican Representative Scott Tipton, who had represented the 3rd Congressional District since 2011. Donald Trump won the district by 12% points in 2016, and the race was considered an easy win for Republicans until recently. Let's see. So yeah, she was being a pain in the ass there at that, and threatening, "Oh, I'm going to sick Fox News after you." Sounds like something the ramblings of a teenage girl would say, you know, when she's caught red-handed doing something, and it's like, oh, my boyfriend's gonna come and get you. You know, and you know, in a way, that's what she reminds me of. Is like she's still like the mentality of a teenage girl. When you listen to her give speeches and you know, at rallies and stuff, I mean, just go on YouTube and look at some of the rallies, and when she's giving a speech, she sounds so childish, and you know, obviously, you know, her mentality is hasn't developed as she got older. You know, which, you know, makes a lot of people concerned that she's just not fit, you know, to be holding the position that she has, because, you know, she's just you know, a pain in the ass here. Now, as far as her husband's arrests in his home district here, this article here from the New York Post, let's see, she should find this. I like how she's always posing with a fucking gun on her hip all the time. She'd be the last person I'd give a gun to. Yeah, okay. And it says here that on top of, you know, her blowing her top there, when she got in trouble, she failed to appear in court twice and was arrested again in December of 2015, but the charge was dismissed. Okay, Boebert's husband, Jason, had brushes with law enforcement in January of '04. He was arrested after allegedly exposing his penis to women at a bowling alley, according to an arrest affidavit. Lauren Boebert, at the time was 17 and known as Lauren Opal Roberts, was also there. Jason Boebert pleaded guilty to public indecency and lewd exposure, earning himself 4 days in jail and 2 years probation. In February of '04, he was booked on a domestic violence charge against Lauren Boebert. He did unlawfully strike, shove, or kick and subjected her to physical contact, a spokesman for the Garfield Associate County Court Clerk told the Post. They were dating at the time. Jason Boebert ultimately served 7 days in jail. The busts were first unearthed by Colorado blogger Ann Landman. Lauren Boebert took her revenge in May of '04 during an altercation with Jason at his home, in which she scratched his face and chest and trashed his residence, according to a police report. She was slapped with third-degree assault, criminal mischief, and underage drinking charges. A representative for the Garfield County Combined Court said they could not reveal any information about the case's final disposition. The Boeberts married in '05 and have 4 children. Jason Boebert did not respond to a request for comment from the Post. In a statement, Representative Boebert's Chief of Staff, Jeff Small, called the arrest a retread of a failed personal attack by the Democrats from the last campaign. Attacking her family, trying to criminalize a $100 traffic fine or a dismissed case, and vilifying ordinary business transactions is exactly what people hate about politics. Okay, so as you can see, you know, her and her husband have quite the busy history there. Okay. And as far as the accusation that's going around now that she was an escort, and the fact that Ted Cruz might have been one of her clients, certainly is gaining traction with a lot of people. You know, despite the idea the Republicans don't care about it. But you know, here's a lady that you know, come out that says, you know, shit about abortion, you know, and hails family values, and yet you look at this woman and just a glance at her history, and you see this. It's, you know, this doesn't sound like a poster girl for these kind of issues here that she's going around talking about. Could she be an escort? Could Ted Cruz have been one of her clients? I don't know. Okay, but she's threatened to take them to court to, you know, sue them for slander, and the people that are posting all this stuff online, they're saying go ahead, you know, because if you go to, you're going to have to bring evidence that you weren't an escort and that these things aren't true, and if you can't, then, you know, the accusation stands. So, you know, they're begging her to basically take them to court over the accusation, because I think there is something there, and she, you know, she's, you know, it's like playing poker. Each one is trying to sucker the other one into revealing their hand, okay? And instead, Boebert is just playing this game here where she's going around bitching about the accusations, but she won't do anything to defend herself against them to prove that they're wrong. Instead, she's just attacking the messenger, okay? So until we know, I mean, we can't say either way whether the accusations are true or false, you know? And if they are true, it certainly brings anything that she's ever said about family values and abortion, you know, to a question mark. You know, whether or not she really means any of these things she's saying, or she's just parroting what Republicans like to hear, which I think is probably the latter. You know, whatever gets her votes is what she's going to say. You know. Now, why do I bring up abortions as something that she's, you know, lying about? Because one of the part of the accusation that went along with her being an escort was that she had 2 abortions. Okay, and here's my question: if they are making this shit up, okay, then why would they put in 2 abortions as also part of the claim? I mean, you say 1 abortion, but 2. I mean, doesn't that sound like it's a more specific accusation that might have some basis in fact? I mean, you know, you could say, oh, she had an abortion, but no, they're saying, no, she had 2 abortions, okay? And she worked as a sex worker, escort, as they call it today, but that's sex workers, prostitution. And she was working as an escort for Ted Cruz. Okay, that was the other part of it. So yeah, first she's an escort, then she had 2 abortions, and she was working as an escort for Ted Cruz, whom helped her obviously financially in the political department, because apparently that's what she wanted. Okay, which brings in, you know, another side to Ted Cruz that we don't like. You know, I mean, hey, look, it wouldn't be unheard of for a politician to have been screwing around on their wife, okay? And Ted Cruz is no saint, as we know. So even if it wasn't with Boebert, I wouldn't be surprised if he was screwing around with somebody at some point in his marriage. Okay, he's just that kind of man. So, like I said, people are trying to egg her on by saying, yes, please take us to court. You know, let us argue this thing in front of court and see how you are at that. You know, at that time, we beg you for that. You know, because if you threaten to go after somebody for slander and shit like that, you're going to have to prove that they're wrong. Okay. And what happens if the side making the slander does have proof to back up? But that's what she's afraid of. I think she doesn't want to face the fact that they might have proof. Okay, but hey, if they got it, they might as well release that to the press too, right? Because if they're trying to sink her from winning, you know, her seat or whatever, that now is as good a time as any, folks, to bring that shit out and just throw it all out in the public air. Okay, but. You know, it's a very weird game to play. You know, I mean, you wouldn't make accusations against somebody that's political and in the government unless you got something there to armor yourself with to fight back. And I can't see how American muckrakers would be out there doing this to her. And, you know, of course, they did that with Madison Cawthorn, and it brought him down. So this thing here, I mean, I'm thinking, yeah, they're trying to stop her from winning the seat back, but at the same time, do they have the evidence to back it up? Because if she does decide to take him to court, you know, this could destroy American muckrakers' credibility here. You know what I'm saying? It's just this weird thing here, but obviously it's putting Lauren in a very difficult light. Now, she may not be hurting with her, you know, supporters and stuff like that, and that doesn't surprise me either, because Republicans supported Donald Trump, who was probably the worst of the worst, okay, as far as I'm concerned, and they still support him, even though he's got the blood of hundreds of thousands of Americans on his hands, okay, they still support him, all right, so they would support this woman easily, no matter what she did, okay? But the fact is to everybody else who does care about these things, it's going to make her look extremely hypocritical if even half of this, of what they're saying, is true about her, okay? That she had 2 abortions, and here she is running around telling people, "Nah, don't you go get an abortion, that's hate." You know what I'm saying? And then having worked as an escort, okay, and went to bed with Ted Cruz, it also puts another light on her, like, you know, her ambition to be a politician included her committing, you know, infidelity, you know, the 2 of them together. So that puts her family values, you know, support, talk to question, because she's already broke that, you know. So, you know what I'm saying? Boebert's looking less and less, you know, like a decent person as we dig. Or, you know, people try to dig into what's going on here. So I don't know if, like I said, if any of this stuff is true, or if there is some truth here, and if there's just even a little bit of truth here that really does, you know, put more of a stain on her character, which eventually she'll have to come out and answer to, whether she wants to now or not. You know, it's one thing to say, oh, that's false, but if you can't, you know, back up that, you know, that claim, then the accusation stands. Okay, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Dear CEO, what's it gonna take for you to do something? Yeah, do you even care?
Climate change affects all of us.
This is your chance to do something good.
Boebert is facing backlash after implying that Jesus could have defended himself from crucifixion if he had assault rifles.
The little Twitter trolls, they like to say, oh, Jesus didn't need an AR-15. How many AR-15s do you think Jesus would have had? Well, he didn't have enough to keep his government from killing him.
Coming soon to Broadway, Lauren Boebert's Jesus Christ Superstar. Jesus Christ, I can hear. He's got a block and he'll wash your feet. Jesus Christ, the man, the man. He's got two disciples named Wesson and Smith. Every time I look at you, there's guns in your hand. You look like you're in a film with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Although Jesus with a gun seems a little off-brand. You can raise the dead and then shoot them again. Jesus Christ, I'm for revenge. Screaming now, say hello to my legion.
If I'm beaten and raped in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my rapist. If I am raped by my father, brother, or uncle and get pregnant in the state of Texas, I have to give birth to the baby of my family abuser. This new law is so draconian that I can be prosecuted for having an abortion, and so can my doctors, friends, and family who advise me, or even the Uber driver who simply drives me to the clinic. This is madness. The same people who have been protesting and screaming, "My body, my choice," when it comes to the COVID vaccine, are now saying I don't have any control over my own body. Texas Republicans won't require a 12-year-old girl to wear a mask in school that may save her life and the lives of other children, but they will force her to keep a baby regardless of how she got pregnant, including rape and incest. I am a woman, and I have a constitutional right to make decisions for my own body. I am a woman, and I have a human right to refuse to give birth to my rapist's baby. I am a woman. This is my body. I am a woman. This is the United States of America. I am a woman. You do not own or control my mind or my body.
My body is my choice.
Shame on the men and women who passed this law, and shame on anyone who sits in silence while women suffer and die because of it.
Superman movie is brought to you by Canon, the world's leading camera manufacturer.
Quick, it's happy.
Canavision 8 camcorders.
Hey, I thought you were Superman, huh?
Hey, I am.
If it moves, shoot it with a cannon.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. All right, so we're talking about Republicans here, and here's another one from The Insider, written by Kelsey Vlamis, entitled, "Trump-endorsed candidate Kari Lake spoke out against drag queens dancing for children. A popular drag queen says he performed for Lake and her young daughter." A popular Phoenix drag queen called out Kari Lake, the Trump-endorsed Republican candidate for governor in Arizona, over her comments about drag queens. Richard Stevens, who has performed as drag queen Barbara Seville for decades, said in a Facebook post on Friday he and Lake used to be friends, but her recent comments on drag queens showed she was a complete hypocrite. No surprise, huh? He included several photos of him and Lake and wrote, quote, "I performed for Kari's birthday. I've performed in her home with children present, and I performed for her at some of the seediest bars in Phoenix," unquote. In a text exchange with Insider, Stevens said he performed as Marilyn Monroe in front of Lake's daughter, who was around 9 or 10 at the time, and again said he performed inside Lake's home. Quote, "I spoke up because her alarming rise to power under these new views are scary and can lead to real harm to me and other marginalized people," unquote, Stevens said. He spoke out after Lake waded into the latest target of conservative outrage, kids being exposed to drag queens. He included a screenshot of a tweet Lake had sent hours prior. Quote, "They kicked God out of the schools and welcomed the drag queens. They took down our flag and replaced it with a rainbow," unquote, she wrote. Quote, "They seek to disarm Americans and militarize our enemies. Let's bring back the basics, God, guns, and glory," unquote. On June 4, Lake's campaign also tweeted condemning drag queens. The account retweeted a video that showed a drag queen performing in front of kids in Texas and added, quote, "This is grooming. This is child abuse. Maybe that's acceptable in Dallas, Texas, but it will not be tolerated in a Kari Lake-led Arizona," unquote. Lake did not immediately respond to Insider's requests for comment. No surprise. In a statement provided to KPNX reporter Bram Resnick, Lake's campaign said Stevens' claims were full of lies. Quote, "The event in question was a party at someone else's house, and the performer was there as a Marilyn Monroe impersonator. It wasn't a drag show, and the issue we're talking about isn't adults attending drag shows either. The issue is activists sexualizing young children, and that's got to stop," unquote, the statement said. Lake's campaign told the Arizona Republic Lake is pursuing legal action, and anyone that prints those lies should be prepared for a legal fight as well, unquote. The outlet also reported the campaign appeared to differentiate between a drag show and a man dressed up as a woman as an impersonation. When speaking to the Arizona Republic, Stevens got emotional when discussing Lake's friendship. Quote, Carrie contacted me after my parents died, unquote, he said. Quote, it meant the world to me. It really meant the world to me. So to see her just throw me under the bus for a vote, that's why I had to say something, unquote. In December of 2014, Lake posted a photo on Instagram of her and Stevens dressed in a drag, along with the caption, quote, half of what I know about makeup I learned from watching Friends like Barboursville. I don't know what the hell that is. She also posted photos earlier that year from a drag show. So, you know, why can't these idiots shut the fuck up? Okay, if they're going to say something that even has a remote, you know, link to something that they themselves have done or experienced in their past, okay? Because, you know, people are going to find out. These things get out. Nothing, you know, your dirty laundry always seems to get out if you're a politician. So why do these people like her here and Boebert go out and say things that they know in their past they've done the opposite, okay? Why do they do this? I mean, do they always, it's like the person that goes out and commits a crime and then records himself doing it and then posts it on the internet like, oh, the cops aren't going to see this. Really? You know, how many crimes have already been committed and caught because of video evidence to back it up? You know, why are people so stupid, you know, about that, and then about opening their yap about things that they claim they don't like, and yet in their own background they've already got something, or, you know, or an incident or two of them doing just the opposite of what they're telling everybody else to do. Okay, hypocrisy is such a big thing these days, and not just politics. I mean, a lot of different things. Okay, people are very, very good at it, but they're not. I'm not going to say they're good at it. I'm going to say they're very prone to doing hypocrisy, but they're not very good at doing it where they don't get caught. Okay, they always seem to get caught whenever they say something that contradicts what they did. Okay, like in the case, you know, with the accusation of Boebert having 2 abortions, and she's out there running around telling people that's a bad thing. Okay, and if they ever find the proof to back up what they're saying, you know, it's really going to be egg on her face then, not just theoretical egg, but it's going to be, you know, it's going to be truthful. So I really find it very annoying, to say the least, when you listen to people talk and you put some kind of, and if you agree with what they say, and you put faith in that person because they say what you agree, and then sometime later you find out that person either lied or they, you know, fabricated the truth or twisted it and spun it in some way, you know, I mean, that's betraying somebody's trust is bad. I mean, you do that just one time with somebody and that person's going to hate you till the day they die. Okay. You know, it's just, you know, I don't see why people do this. I mean, when it comes to politics, even the slightest gaffe can destroy a person's chances of winning anything, okay? And even though Republicans seem to go ahead and accept gaffes and even outright crimes in many cases, I suppose the Republicans don't feel the need to have to worry about being hypocritical because they know that their own party is going to excuse it anyway. But it's the fact that the other side knows it and they can use it against you. You know, so what are they thinking? I mean, if anybody out there could even possibly clear that up for me, I would be appreciative as all merry hell, because I really don't understand why people like this go ahead and say things, and then when they're caught, you know, being hypocritical or just lying about it, they turn around and they try to defend what they did and said and lied about, like, oh, well, the way you're talking about it isn't accurate. Okay, well, you got a person here that was a friend of hers that did something for her and her daughter, and she's out now bitching about people doing that for a living. You know, it's okay, so she ain't no goddamn friend. Okay, or if she was just pretending to be. You know, I don't know, it's fucked up. Politicians these days are really dirt. They're the lowest form of life that you'll ever run across, because the only thing that matters to their silly asses, all of them, is to fucking vote. okay, and they will promise you heaven and all the glories that go with it just to get that vote from you. Once they got it, they'll turn their back on you as easy as as nothing. Don't mean a damn thing, okay? That's why I don't donate money to political people. They manage to get money whenever they need it from people who can donate more up front and quicker. Okay, what the hell do they need with $10 here and $5 here? That's bullshit. That just goes to pay their secretaries and whatever paper and pencils they're going to be needing. The real money they want is the one that goes in their pockets. Okay, to get them pushed out in front, for advertisements and things like that. That's what they want. Okay, that money, a lot of that money doesn't even get used for the campaign, believe it or not. So I get phone calls all the time when I get close to, when it gets close to election time. Oh, donate, and I just hang right up on them. I don't even talk to them. Okay, it's just insulting that they would even call me. Okay, because I never donated one thin dime in my life to any political cause. They're either going to get my vote or not. That's what they're really after, isn't it? Okay, my vote means more to them than the damn money I would donate to. So, if they can sell me their views, they'll get my vote. If not, hey, don't expect money from me just because you're a D or an R. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not that shallow. You have to convince me in my mind, in my soul, that you're worth my vote. Otherwise, you ain't getting it. You know what I'm saying? Forget it. To me, it's like people that come to, door-to-door salesmen. I don't want what you're selling. Don't bother me. When you call me and you're looking for money, don't bother me. I don't want to hear it. Okay? I'm listening to your candidate that you're working for, trying to convince me to vote for them. And if they can't convince me, what good is any money going to do you if I send it? Chances are a person won't win anyway. You won't get that money back. And yes, I understand that just forces the candidates all the more to go dip into money coming in from corporations and stuff, but hey, that's not my problem. That's the problem of the system that allowed that to happen. Okay, if they didn't change the laws, so that way politicians could get money from these lobbyists and corporations and stuff like that, then we wouldn't have this problem with money in politics. Okay, it wouldn't cost billions of dollars to get a man elected president in this country. Okay. And until they undo what they did, that's going to be the way it is. And people that can spend the most money on a politician are the ones that'll win elections, So, I mean, look, because of that fact, the reason, that they win elections is the same reason why when the minority is out of power, they can still influence a lot of movement inside the government because they still have, wealthy backers to make things move for them. You know what I'm saying? That's why that the Republican Party, even though they're in the minority group, still seems to have their hand around the throat of the Democrats, because the money they're getting is way more than what the Democrats are getting, and it doesn't matter what kind of support the Democrats have, it's just not enough. Okay, the voters just aren't enough. The kind of support they need is the kind of support Republicans need to keep themselves going, and for some reason they got it in their heads that if they can't climb down into the gutter to fight the Republicans where they live, then they're doing the right thing. Why do they think that? You can't beat your enemy unless you sink to their level first. Okay, and until the Democrats understand that, they're always going to be on the defensive. They're never going to be able to take the offensive and win back seats that they lost, because they're trying to play things, or make it seem like they're trying to play things above board, which isn't always the case. Regardless of what Democrats say, they're not the white knights that they pretend to be. Okay, The fact is, they've done a lot of crooked things in the past that, you know, they've, you know, glossed over to sound like they did the right thing. All right. And I'll just off the top of my head, the way they scuttled Bernie Sanders' attempt to winning the White House. Okay. So, like I said, it's one of those things where people, you have to keep in perspective who these folks are that run for office. They are not apostles of Jesus. They're not, you know, white knights. They're businessmen, you know, by and large. They think of it as being in a business. And in a way, I guess it could be, because you know, you're dealing with a ton of cash flowing through Washington, D.C. and going to all kinds of different places. So you'd have to be you'd have to look at it as sort of a business that you have. I mean, I guess that's why we call the president. It's like the president of a company, okay? Because all this money going through Washington, D.C., it seems like the only thing that's ever going to really be of importance to anybody working there is their flow of cash, you know, and how much of that they can keep for themselves, and of course any friends they have, how much of that they're going to be able to keep and not pay for in taxes or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about friggin' money at the end of the day. Any scandal that's out there, you can find the root to it through just tracking down the money where it went. You know. All right, well, that's just two things here. I guess that's enough. I mean, there's no point in really beating this dead horse, because everybody knows, even you know, you can't trust politicians as far as you can throw them, whether they're Democrat or Republican. Okay, I know that probably annoys some of you out there when I slam at Democrats, but hey, look, I've been around long enough. I ain't gonna say this if I didn't, you know, have any, you know, any fact to back it up. Okay, I'm not just some spring chicken. I've been around for 50 years, so I know how things are going, how things work now, and how it's crippled our country's ability to govern itself. So, okay, anyway, hope everybody has a great upcoming week. I believe tomorrow's a holiday, so if you don't work tomorrow because of the holiday, then enjoy it. Hopefully you'll have a nice day. But please keep your ears open to any COVID-19 news that's local, to see, you know how things are, and subscribe and comment to this show here, so you can get you know, any updates of when I post a video. Of course, I do this not for money. I just do this for my own personal pleasure. So as long as I have fun doing it, it's going to keep going no matter what. So I will talk to you guys at another time, and take care.